Or are we up now? Yeah. Okay, I saw my mic was on, so, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julian Morse. I'm the MLA for Frame Lake and Chair of Standing Committee on Government Operations. This meeting is being live streamed on the Assembly's social media channels. To keep the meeting running smoothly, and this is just to the presenters, just wait to be recognized before speaking. You'll note that the mics will come on automatically. We tend to have a very formal structure here, so if you can direct your comments through the chair and I can direct them to the members, but it'll become pretty evident as we go through the presentation. So this afternoon, we'll go to members first. I'll ask members to introduce themselves. We'll start with Mr. Rogers at the far end there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Denny Rogers. I'm the I'm the MLA for NWT Lake. Welcome, everyone, and look forward to the presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Kate Reed. I'm the MLA for Great Slave, which is where Sir John Franklin sits currently, and I'm very pleased to invite you or have you here today to present to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone for being here today. My name is Robert Hawkins. I'm the MLA for Yellowknife Centre. As always, I'm always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to what you folks have to say, along with our millions of subscribers on our social media website. We'll all be following on quite keenly, so we're happy to have you here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we have a member online as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Det'anchogh. I'm the MLA for Trinity. Welcome. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. So this afternoon, we're pleased to hear from members of the École St. Sir John Franklin High School Social Studies Club, who are here to brief us on the NWT Heritage Fund as part of our statutory review of the NWT Heritage Fund Act. So I'm going to give the floor over to the students for your opening remarks, and when you're done your presentation, we'll have questions from MLAs as well. So who's leading the presentation? And just make sure to introduce yourselves as you go forward.
Good morning, members of the Standing Committee of the Government Operation. My name is Lena Wang. I'm an active president of the Social Studies Club at Sir John Franklin.
Hi, my name is Kirsten, and I am the acting vice president of the club.
Hi, I'm Ava Maurice, and I'm an executive member of the Social Studies Club.
Hi, my name is Yasmin Mohammed. I am a member of the executive team of the club.
To start our presentation, we'd like to give a little bit of background context. Last year of June 2025, the Legislative Assembly had reached out to us about a fund to provide for future generation. Together as a club, we had gathered 10 to 15 members to discuss about this fund. After reaching out to the student body, we have gathered and assembled our core interests.
Our main ideas are a real reflection of the precise interests of all the students. We had 100 students give their opinion based with a plebiscite, ranking their opinions in the form of a Likert scale.
The main issues raised were regarding affordable housing and addiction services. 20% of all respondents stated that they are concerned about unhoused individuals, addiction struggles of residents, and safety in downtown public spaces. The fund would go towards supporting subsidized housing projects, which in turn would increase the access to stable and affordable housing, as well as towards rehabilitation centers, which would help address the high rates of substance abuse and also provide a safe and judgment-free space for persons with addictions, which is very important considering the social stigma surrounding them. All in all, the investments would help improve the social and economic well-being of residents in the Northwest Territories.
The second highest area of interest is access to medical and veterinary care in the territory. 18% of Sir John Franklin High School students who completed the plebiscite stated this was their top concern. The key issues highlighted was specifically the shortage of family doctors, shortage of veterinary services, and the ER wait times. Yellowknife residents are somewhat fortunate that many of us are able to have access to a family doctor, but in many of the communities, that's just not possible. Although many locum doctors from down south do fly into Yellowknife and the communities, they are typically not on very long contracts, which doesn't allow them to make a very lasting impression. And by allocating the fund for healthcare services and expanding the facilities and their ability to hire, the whole territory would benefit. Healthcare services in the vote were expanded to include veterinary services as well. And it was specifically about the emergency veterinary services. And we only have a vet services in Yellowknife, so the communities either have to go down south or fly to Yellowknife to get care for their pets. As well, it was mostly the emergency services that were mentioned by the students. Interest in allocating a portion of the fund to mitigating the length of ER wait times was an interest of the student body as well. This could be achieved through using finances from the fund to attract more professionals and focus on retaining them and keeping them in the territory, and by giving back and investing in the medical facilities that already exist.
Our next focus is student financial assistance. This topic is increasingly popular with the students at Sir John Franklin, with 17% of students wanting to see the fund redistribute back to them, as in 2024, the Northern bonus for returning post-secondary students was indefinitely cut.
Students have raised concern with the preparedness of which their community is equipped to respond to challenges associated with climate change. As the future generation, it is increasingly important that we see future here within this community. Due to the recent forest fires of the summer of 2023, 14% of students in the survey have brought up the idea of subsection investment in forest fire management. This would be done with the use of effective land clearing projects, material procurements, and procurements of water bomber aircraft services, additional on-the-ground personnel, and other associated resources.
A small minority of students expressed interest in investment towards renewable energy alternatives. This would in turn create future employment opportunities for citizens and especially for returning graduates, and it would also help mitigate the Northwest Territories' carbon emissions.
Continuing the subsection of climate change concerns, 5% of students state that investing in a recreational fire safety educational program would interest them. The interest was in using the fund for public campaigns on fire safety, especially in the summer or any time where the threat of wildfires is present, and increasing signage in areas where recreational fires may be present, such as camping sites or day-use areas.
Students have commented they would like the funds to be continued onward and to be redistributed back to them. The club has expressed support for diverse method and investment with the funds. The reinvestment of money into the reserve of finance ensures a steady stream of support and security for future generation. This idea guarantees security for the future collective within Yellowknife that will be the ones that continue this economy.
With the establishment of more economic features such as jobs in new energy practices and rehabilitation centers discussed earlier, it would grow employment opportunity for returning graduates. Several participants in the plebiscite have expressed their desire to return to the NWT following their post-grad schooling. More jobs will mean more returning citizens to grow the local economy.
A small minority of students stated that they want more recreational spaces for youth, such as supervised, safe buildings for activities such as board games, crochet, arcade games, alongside pool and ping pong tables, and also spaces for dance, concerts, and talent shows.
7% of individuals who participated in the fund expressed their interest in using the fund for creating small business opportunities in the downtown core. This would stimulate the local economy through new business ventures and would also create jobs for locals. By focusing this on the downtown core specifically, it would also aid to revitalize the area for residents, visitors, and tourists.
The students that engaged in the plebiscite have demonstrated to us that their top priority is the social well-being of our community. While the second major priority raised by students is the economic stability of our community, they also believe that the social environmental crisis must also be managed with the money in the fund as well.
The students have expressed a strong desire to aid the community of the Northwest Territory and would like to see noticeable change happening here, as they have expressed the desire to continue and build their life here. It is an encouraging surprise to see that students have expressed ideas that indirectly and directly affects them, as their top priorities were affordable housing, access to medical and veterinary care, along with SFA. Subsequently, a desire to protect the community from the ever-growing danger posed by climate change. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to engage in our community and to discuss this with the Social Studies Club. We hope you take our ideas into consideration. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. And I'll turn it over to committee members for questions. Mr. Hawkins.
Well, first off, thank you very much. That was actually really engaging. I like how you switched things around and kept it moving. And I would say that whoever helped you or you came up with it on your own, it was quite engaging. So it's you're obviously very well spoken, each of you in your own way. And I felt it was a nice way of making sure that we were following along and keeping the person who operating the mic paying very close attention, moving it around to catch you folks. I want to say also, I found it really interesting that the approach of investing into housing, healthcare, and certainly SFA almost encapsulated 50% of your statistics. And it's interesting, the long-term investment and was pushed further down. In other words, investing the fund further along. So in other words, saving it much further. Was there any type of responses from members of your community, in other words, the students, that had felt that the fund should be accessed much sooner based on the housing need and the healthcare need, rather than waiting, or could you wait for some of these investments? So in other words, I'll give you a simple example. We need more housing today, so we should take money out now, or could we wait, say, 5 years or 10 years to further draw down the hopeful gains in the investments? Because, I mean, the whole idea of the nest egg is it grows, and then we spend the interest. Hopefully, that's the goal. But the point being is what was your sense around the urgency of acting, say, on these top three? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Who wants to take on the question first? All of you can answer it if you like. Okay, go ahead.
Of course, we understand the urgency as we need housing and, of course, the investment as well. But with students choosing this option as their top priority, it's mainly focused around their future need. And, of course, their future need also revolves around, like, current events as well and, like, housing crisis happening at the moment. But, again, this is for them in the future. And it would be great for them to build a community then. Of course, it's great now, and people do need the money for it. The urgency is there, but I think with the student body, it's mainly focused around them as they have interest in coming back here, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Mr. Hawkins, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just so brief, ever so briefly. Specific to the housing, I can appreciate folks are looking at it from your vantage point. You're young folks, and you want to make sure the community's there for you. These types of needs are there for you, and really, we're asking you your opinion from your point of view, not necessarily someone else's. So I appreciate you're looking at it from one particular point of view. When you engage the other students, could you explain how you did that a little bit? I'm really curious on how I think you said there was a group of between 10 to 15 and you were able to do surveys up to about 100 people. And I was curious on how you went about and got that feedback, how you organized. Did you do anything special, or did you just say, hey, we have a survey, please fill it out, because we really, really want some numbers? Like, could you maybe explain the process you folks engaged with your fellow student body? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So we sent out a poll, and each of the teachers posted it on Google Classroom, and each student was then prompted by their teachers and us members in the class to participate in the poll and the plebiscite, and it was like out of 5, so it was choose which ones were most like prominent to you and interested you the most. And that's how we got like around 100 students to complete it. And then in our own social studies group, we just discussed it more thoroughly, what that could mean, and each like issue that they may be thinking of or had in mind as they completed the vote.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogers, I have you up next for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Very well thought out, very well presented. I note a lot of the suggestions made in your presentations were certainly, aligned, certainly somewhat, or aligned a lot with what, government's priorities as well here, especially around housing, obviously, which was, I would think, our number one priority in the first 2 years of this assembly. And I know this is maybe a little off topic, Mr. Chair, but given that the fund is, most heritage funds or sovereign wealth funds are funded by royalty revenues. Revenues typically gained by resource development. If you look at other countries, other jurisdictions, you'll see, if you happen to look at Norway's where they have $2 trillion in their heritage fund, which is mainly from the sale of oil and gas, which they've taken that money to use for the betterment, obviously, of the entire country. So I'll ask this question, and I don't know if it's something that you discuss as a group, typically, in this group, in your social studies group. But how would you say you feel, or how do you think students feel about the potential extraction of our resources, such as LNG or light crude oil, or the additional mining opportunities, to be able to fund this heritage fund? So basically, using the resources we have to then come up with the with the royalty revenues to grow our funds, what's there for future generations as well. Wondering if you had any comments on that at all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone want to take that one on first?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
So terrible.
Mr. Rogers, if you want to maybe simplify the question a bit.
Sorry, I didn't mean to have a bit of a ramble there, Mr. Chair. Do you or the students have an opinion on resource developments or resource extraction in our territory? So likely exporting LNG, liquefied natural gas, or crude oil, or other mining opportunities to get the royalty revenues that we need to fund our heritage fund and to make it grow. So basically, use our resources. And I understand that one of the renewable energy was certainly one of the things that are concerned to students. But how do students feel about, or how do you feel about extraction of our resources to fund this fund, to make it grow? Because to have the money there in 2033 or 2050, we have to keep contributing to it, and typically we do that through royalties that we get from selling our natural resources.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Lena.
Students have definitely expressed positivity towards it, as they know that this fund will be going back to them in the future, and they would like it to be continue to be redistributed. So extracting mines and yes, it would be a great benefit back to them, as again, this all goes back into the fund, and this will be continue to build and invest, and it would really aid the community and them as a whole. And so therefore they're looking forward for that. They showed positive attitude towards it, as they know that, again, this will go back to them in the future and will benefit them and their family.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogers, do you have a follow-up? No? Okay.
May I?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
I think that, and I'd say the students would agree, that it's better if we're doing it locally, like with the NWT, instead of federally getting, them mining our resources. And it's giving back to the NWT. And this money is from the NWT for the NWT, as opposed to from the federal government, and they may want something in return for that. This is a cycle that benefits ourselves in the end.
Well put. Mr. Rogers, did you have a follow-up, or?
No, just to say I think it's a great answer. I certainly appreciate that. And yeah, doing it here where we're going to do it likely a little more environmentally friendly than it would in other parts of the world, I think makes sense if it is still a consumable and still something that's required. So, thank you.
Thank you. I have Ms. Reed up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciated you taking the time to do all of this work and bring it forward to committee. It's really appreciated. I'm hoping maybe you could expand a little bit on your data collection. You have broken it out by student interests and how many percentage of students were interested in certain places to expend the fund. Were those options pre-selected in your survey, or did the students fill in their own interests, or was it a mixture of both? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Lena.
Yes. We were reached out in June of 2025. So as the Social Studies Club, we had talked about different options and different priorities, and we had students given their interests and given what they prioritize as a whole, and what they think is important to them, as everyone has like different situations that they focus on. So these options, investing in affordable housing, enhanced in medical care, is something that we see on daily. Like we go outside and we see these, and we know that affordable housing is a struggle at the moment, and students know that, and therefore they pitched in the idea with hopes that it will be taken into considerate for future. And it's just like all personal ideas that students can relate to or going through, and they would like to see help benefit for the future.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else want to field answers to the question? No? Okay. Ms. Reed, do you have a follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that explanation. Building a little on what my colleague from NWT Boot Lake was speaking, it is important to note that the way that the fund is structured right now, it builds on resource extraction revenues. And I'm so glad that you brought up that you would like to see more of the money that comes from those revenues go to the territory. Currently, the split is obviously a little bit on the small side because our Heritage Fund isn't very big. So I also note that in your student interests, it lists investment in forest fire management services, investment in renewable energy projects, a fire safety public education program. So I'm seeing climate concerns come out of your student interests, and I'm just wondering, is that something that you spoke about in your club, where if you balance the resource revenues with maybe addressing the impacts of what those resource revenues might impact on our territory? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to jump on that question?
It's a big question.
Please clarify the question, if that's no worries.
Ms. Reed?
Sure, thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, sorry. So in short, the money that comes in is from non-renewable resource extraction. Some of that non-renewable resource extraction does impact climate change. And so I'm wondering if you had conversations about how the money is spent to help adapt to climate change versus how the money comes in. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that clarify things for you?
Yes, thank you.
I can after.
No, you can go.
I just wanted to say it's most likely that we would be extracting resources anyways, as I don't think many of the resources are extracted with the Heritage Fund in mind, and it's more our economy in general. So I'm not sure if it's true, but I think mostly the Heritage Fund isn't what's going to have a detrimental impact on the environment in relation to resource extraction. So, yeah. That's it.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to field an answer to the question? No? Okay. Thank you for that. Next questions I have from Ms. Wayne Armstrong.
Thank you for the presentation. I really do appreciate. It's good to hear an input from young people. And so listening to your presentation, you know that life for young people, especially Indigenous youth, is different living in the small communities compared to larger regional center. And listening to you guys, I can see that. I can see from that compared to our youth living in the small communities. So which is, something that we've been saying for so long regarding education. So I just wanted to ask you guys that, so how do you feel? Like, we know that larger regional center, and I know that you touched base on some of the stuff, improving education outcome. How do you feel about that, especially for our Indigenous youth? Because majority of the population in the Northwest Territories is Indigenous, and a lot of our Indigenous are living in the small communities, and a lot of our youth are living in small communities. So just to get your input, because we're talking about Heritage Fund, we want to improve the system. You mentioned about the housing, you talk about creating employment. So how do you feel about improving the education outcome?
Thank you. Does anyone want to try that one?
The educational outcome? Okay. As mentioned in some of them, we tried to use it with a community focus as well, but many of us have grown up in the city for our whole lives. I lived in Inuvik for 6 months, but that was it. So that's my knowledge. And so to give back to the communities, like we said, in creating job opportunities, like teachers, nurses, doctors, even like many communities don't have health clinics with actual nurses or doctors inside who are there full time. So I think that mostly the job opportunity creation is what would help with that.
Thank you. Ms. Maylin Armstrong, do you have a follow-up? Or did anyone else want to give an answer to that question? No? Okay. Ms. Maylin Armstrong, a follow-up?
Okay, no, I didn't get, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Okay, well, I know that, so you did the survey among your youth in the school. So how many of those were engaged, or how many of the Indigenous youth participated in this survey? Because I am representing a small communities, so I'm, coming in with that, with a mindset. We want to improve the life of our Indigenous youth living in small communities. We want lots of things that, larger regional center have. So I just want to ask, how many Indigenous youth participated in this survey in your school? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We're representatives of Sir John Franklin High School right now, so we didn't specifically count if Indigenous youth who also live in Yellowknife were participated in this survey. We just did a widespread survey of everyone in the classes who wanted to participate, so we don't have statistics on which races participated or how shown they were in the survey.
Thank you. One more question, Ms. Maylin Armstrong. Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead, Lena.
To add on what Ava said, yes, we didn't count how many students, Indigenous students, have participated, but even if we didn't, we represent the entire school, so those Indigenous students who didn't participate in the plebiscite will still be represented, and we will do our best to hear their voices and to advocate for them as best as we can.
Thank you. Ms. Maylin Armstrong, you wanted to follow up.
Okay. The reason why I said Indigenous, because like I said, life is different for Indigenous versus non-Indigenous, especially living in the small communities. So many of them are coming from small communities. So it would have been nice to hear their input. And I know that now that Kl'ichya government are doing a survey as well with our school students in small communities. Elementary or junior high and high school students are both, they're getting input from them. And then so I am, I know a lot of us are anxious to see the results, and we'll go from there. So, but it's more of a comment, and I do appreciate what the young people are doing, and it's good to hear from you. So that's all. It's more of a comment. I don't have any questions, but it's just that I just wanted to make some clarification on that. So thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. I'll go to Mr. Adjerikon next for round one questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thank you to the students. I went through your report, and a lot of good research in there. This morning we had a meeting with the group that we're in front of you right now, and we're talking about the Heritage Fund as well, and trying to look at other jurisdictions across Canada and also the world. And what you guys came up with are really good benchmarks in terms of trying to identify how we could manage the monies up here for the next 50 years or so. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, because, um, coming from, I mean, I got a grandson that just graduated from high school there, and he phones me a couple times a week talking politics, talking about resources and lands and negotiation, et cetera. So, and I hear you loud and clear about what you guys are saying. And definitely, this is, for me, it's evidence that we could bring forward to our committee, and we'll probably include that in our report as well. So I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and coming in front of the committee here today. That's more or less a comment from Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go to round two, I have a couple questions to ask myself. I just wanted to focus on some of the students identified an area that's of perpetuating the fund. And so I just wanted to ask you, when you were thinking about spending of the money, because that seemed to be the focus of the student survey, did you consider whether it would be a good idea to keep the fund going over time? So most heritage funds, for context, we've been doing a review of various heritage funds around the world. Most of them have policies attached to them that effectively say you can only touch the profit made from investing the fund. And so the principle of the fund, the money that originally went into it, gets held there, and so that future generations can continue to benefit over time. So when you were considering spending down the money, do you think it's more important to spend it all at once, come 2033, or do you think perpetuating the fund? I know some students felt that way, but I'm just curious whether you could clarify. Were students mostly considering that you'd be spending the money that's available if you were to perpetuate the fund, or that they just felt that the needs were immediate and we should just spend the money and not worry too much about the future beyond 2033?
Well, with our fund, as of right now, I don't think it's very much money compared to other ones. Say, Trudeau came up here and said he was building the $50 million housing complexes, which I'm not even sure if our fund has reached $50 million. So, yeah. So I believe many of the students, when looking at this, were thinking of spending the whole fund because it is not that much. But I think that perpetuating the fund would probably be in the interest of future generations the most. Yeah.
Anyone else want to field answers to the question? No? Okay. Thank you. For round two, I have Mr. Hawkins up next again.
Thank you. One of the things that probably wasn't asked, well, maybe first I'll just clarify. Does everyone know how we get money, where the money comes from for the fund? And a nod. Basically, it's resource extraction. That's where we're making our money. So one of the questions probably isn't asked is how do students feel about resource extraction? I think similar to the question asked by Mr. Rogers, which was when he brought up, say, oil and gas. Even though it's not the question, and it seems to be even, I noticed on your stats on your report that concerns not pretending they don't exist or don't matter, but the concerns around climate change or response were actually lower on the response, and they were, and the higher numbers referred to almost 50% were about specific ones that helped direct benefits of folks. So I thought that was interesting that the climate change, like I say, ideas were embedded much lower in the responses. And so I'm asking a question outside the survey, and I'm asking students here from working with your colleagues, your fellow student body friends and whatnot, is has the feeling changed regarding resources extraction versus climate change from your perspective? Because, I mean, there may be some people who would say we don't want any resource extraction, and of course when it comes to things like the Heritage Fund, it needs that type of money, or sorry, it gets the benefit from that type of development opportunity. So my specific question to each of you, hopefully in some form, or most of you, or somebody at least, would be is, has the theme around things like resource extraction changed in your community of friends and colleagues? And again, when I say colleagues, I'm referring to students. I'm curious on your perspective, because the narrative of this story has changed the last couple of years, where it's now people 10 years ago were saying we were worried about this and worried about that. Now they're saying we're worried about housing, we're worried about jobs, we're worried about. So I'm just curious on the feeling on the ground. Again, not part of the direct survey, but something that's actually, in my view, embedded within the survey results. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to try and field that question first? Okay, Nina, go ahead.
Yes. I don't know if this categorizes everyone outside our school, but I don't think they understand how this fund is happening, like extracting resources. I don't think they know that's part of it. But I'm hoping that once they do know about how this fund is happening, they're more open to the idea of extracting resources for this fund. I know, like, regardless how we feel otherwise, resources will still be continue to be extracted regardless. And so we're hoping that this opens like a new perspective for some of the students to come to this with a positive attitude that even though, yes, we're extracting resources and finding other ways to fund this, it's still benefiting them in the future, and it will still all come back to them at the end of this. I hope that clears up.
Thank you. Anyone else want to provide an answer before I go back to Mr. Hawkins? Do you have a follow-up?
Maybe I'll just provide a comment if it stimulates a bit of response, that would be great. So resource extraction, I think you rightly say, will happen in some form. And I'm seeing some nods, so I appreciate that. And whether you're for or against, it'll always happen in some form, you know. And let's range just a couple small examples, you know, although we don't have really logging here, but I mean, you know, people cut trees and that's a resource. People get diamonds, that's a resource. People tap oil or gas or other types of things, those are resources. And other mining companies, you know, maybe one day rare earths, maybe one day lithium, maybe one day more gold. There is gold now, but you know, things of that nature. And those are all the qualifying things that get us to. So without those, that's the vehicle that helps put money into this. So I just was more curious about maybe in the context of knowing what builds the Heritage Fund, knowing what the root or the source of it is, had any thoughts on your impression? Because if we don't support those things, the territorial government does suffer. Our gross domestic product, way beyond you folks, I'm sure, to some degree, has been declining. And we need money for housing, healthcare, veterinarian services, as pointed out, and many other things. So I'm not sure, again, it's just a comment. I'm not sure that there's a needed response, but all of these things have an impact. And I just want you to know that that's how we build our fund. But last thing I want to say, Mr. Chairman, is that I'm glad the theme is in there that this is a birthright opportunity, often referred to as, in other words, it's your resource, but it's not your resource today, it's your resource down the road. And, you know, as you get older, your paradigm of need and concern shift. You know, when you're young, it's like, oh, this excitement and whatnot. And then when you get older, it's about stability. And then as you get older, it changes to different types of areas as well. So, and of course, as we shift, and mature. So anyway, I just wanted you to know that I appreciate you folks looking at it as your resource, because it is. And it's your future resource, which the whole key is to protect it, to make sure it's available. So. But back to the climate change or investment or mining, et cetera, Mr. Chairman, I was just trying to remind folks that, you know, in this case, they almost work hand in glove. You know, without the resource extraction in some form, it makes it difficult to fund the fund. So just an observation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to respond to the observation? I'm seeing a shaking head. No.
It's pretty
okay.
heavy.
Fair enough. Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'd just like to understand some of the conversations that your club had around the Heritage Fund a little bit better. I'm sure because you've talked about the resource revenue split, and just for the folks listening in, if you don't know, resource revenues go 50% to Canada, 25% to Indigenous governments, and 25% to the GNWT. And in that 25% that goes to the GNWT, I think it's our staff just let me know it's just a little over 9%. So can you expand maybe more on the discussions around that you might have had around if you think that percent should increase, and if so, how much, and what your discussions were on the totality of the revenues coming to the Heritage Fund? Thanks.
Thank you.
So you said 9% goes to the GNWT? Sorry.
Better than I
Mr.
can even.
Chair.
Well, I'll let you explain, Ms. Reed. It's your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel like you know it better than I do, but that's okay. So I can't recall if it's 9% of the 25, is that right? Yeah, so if you have 100% and we have a quarter of that pie, that quarter, 9% of that quarter goes to the Heritage Fund. So if I was just, or is it 9% total? It's 9% total. So if it's out of the 25, it's the 9%. So less than 10% goes to the Heritage Fund. And I'm curious if you think that number should increase or decrease, stay the same, what your thoughts or conversations were around that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Wait, so 50% of our stuff goes to the federal government?
Yes.
I think that should decrease. And I think that more funds should go to the Heritage Fund, most likely, as our Heritage Fund hasn't even reached 50 million. And I think we could, I don't know if you guys can do that, is decrease the amount to the federal government. Probably not. That's probably not. But yeah, I think we should have more be able to go back to the Heritage Fund, but at the same time, we should also have more going to the Indigenous peoples and the community as well.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, no, if there's any other members on the club that want to speak to that, or if they want to talk more about those discussions, that'd be great.
Does anyone else want to provide any insights on whether they think funding should increase to the fund for future? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from committee for round two? Ms. Whalen Armstrong, go ahead.
Thank you. Regarding the resource revenue, this was part of the devolution agreement back in 2012, is it? Yeah. 2014? Yeah, that was, I think, 17th Legislative Assembly. They made that deal, so 50% is going to, that was part of the deal that with agreement made with the federal government. 50% goes to the federal government. So it's a deal that, you know, I guess we can't break at this time. And so 25% goes to GNWT. And my colleague was saying that, you know, so 9% of that goes to the Heritage and the other 12% goes to the GNWT. It's a sharing with the Indigenous government. So 25% goes to the Indigenous government. Like, for example, Det'anchogh government gets 2% of that. And Satu, 1.5. It's just for information. Gwich'in gets 1.5. So we only get like a small portion. And so with the, they were talking about resource extractions. So now with the 3 diamond mine going to be closing, so we're going to be, you know, like, we're going to lose some in the future. So that's why they were asking questions about what do you think about the resource extractions. And we do have, in the Northwest Territories, we do have a lot of, you know, and I think my colleague has said it too before, where we're cash poor, but we have lots of resources, you know, natural resources that we can use, but, you know, at this time. And I know that our elders have said it too before, that we do have a lot of mineral resources within our, in our territory, in that territory, but not to take them out all at once and not, you know, we have to leave something for the future generations. So do it gradually. And, but now we have, you know, we have 4 diamond mines and we have 3. And eventually they're going to close. So that was the reason why they were saying that you got to leave some for future generations. And that's why they were asking that questions too, is that what do you think about the resource extractions? Because eventually, like, there's going to be a period where we might not see too much, you know. So it's just more of a comment, it's just more of a telling you, you know, like about the devolutions, the agreement made back in 2014. And so, so I don't have any questions, but it's just that's just recapping some of the stuff. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to respond to the comments from Ms. Whalen Armstrong? Not obligated to by any means. Okay. I have a couple more questions. One that I thought I wanted to ask. You know, when we reached out, when committee reached out to you, and through this project, I'm curious to know, did you learn anything about heritage funds through this exercise? And were you aware that we had a heritage fund before committee reached out?
Thank you.
Sure.
We were unaware of this before Tasha reaching out to us. And then even after reaching out, we still were not sure of the fund. We didn't know where this is going to go to, how is it going to benefit us, and altogether, we just didn't know. And so after discussing this and more communication with Tasha, we, on the way, gained knowledge of this fund. And with that, we were able to ask other students in our school on how they can help us come up with ideas and how we can prioritize their future. And along that, it gained some sort of like connection with all of us to where we were able to discuss this as a whole and to be able to participate and to provide ideas for future generation. And even after with more communication with Tasha, even after emails back and forth, we had learned that like this all comes back to us at the end. The discussion, all the resources that will be extract, everything will all come back to us. And that was something that we didn't know that was going to happen with going on with this fund. And that was something that was so great. Thank you.
Thank you. And my follow-up question is kind of the most fundamental one, and that is, now that you're aware of what a heritage fund is and how it works, one of the questions that could be before committee is whether we continue to have a heritage fund at all. I'm curious to hear from you. Do you like the concept of having a heritage fund, which is effectively, to put it simply, if we're going to extract resources, that the profits from those resources go to the future generations as opposed to just being burned up in government spending currently? Do you think the concept of having a heritage fund is one that we should sustain?
I definitely think it is, because with our resources, it's just going to get more money added to it, and in 2023, it'll help future generations. And I think it's definitely a benefit to have instead, and to have an idea of what you guys want to spend it on in the future, and not just base it on, because decisions on government spending now could be rash. They could be, we're going to put this much in that, this much in that. But to have the ability to have a plan and have money to perpetuate that plan in the future is definitely beneficial to the whole government and to those territories.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to field an answer to the question, or felt she captured it? Okay. Thank you. Just before we go, committee, are there any last-minute burning questions for the presenters left? Okay, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you. Just one last sort of observation for consideration for you folks is one of the challenges the Heritage Fund has is it doesn't grow very fast. And at the same time, so these become more of challenging investments, which is I'm going to invest in the Heritage Fund to grow for future generations. But on the same token is we need money now and other things that are costing us more money. And do we borrow money to pay for these problems, or do we access the Heritage Fund or invest in the Heritage Fund? And so these are dynamics of asking where is money best put or best invested for the long haul. So if I just say X rather than trying to put a specific, if we need $1 million to work on X problem, or do we invest $1 million and into the Heritage Fund? The interest on the Heritage Fund is very low. The borrowed money, because we pushed it over there, the borrowed money interest is higher than what we actually make, if you follow that. So one of the challenges is the fact is, where do you get the best value for money over the long haul? The longer term game says Heritage Fund is certainly the way to go, even if we're borrowing money at a cost to solve problem X. So these are one of the problems we're struggling with. This may be a bit different from your scope of way of looking at something, but it almost costs us money to put it into the Heritage Fund. Hence, that's the question is, should we continue it and are we getting enough benefit in it? Government's given a lot of money, and then it's the government's job to break it all into little silos of problems, you know, education, health, etc. So it's constantly making decisions where it's getting best value. So it may weigh heavy on you saying, do we invest today for tomorrow in the Heritage Fund to ensure it grows and it's there for the future? But does it come at a cost of current expenses? In other words, the interest rate to borrow money to solve problems is higher than the interest rate gained on the Heritage Fund investment. So it's a struggle. I'd be shocked if you folks had an answer. I want an answer, but I'd be shocked because we struggle with these types of problems all the time. Where to best invest your money? Oh,
Okay.
exciting.
Go ahead, Lena.
Just to be clear, we're taking money out of a certain problem, like a more bigger problem, and investing it into the Heritage Fund? Is that what it is? Or?
Mr. Hawkins, do you want to clarify a little bit?
So if we had $1 million from resource money, should we invest the $1 million into housing? Or should we invest the $1 million in the Heritage Fund? We're just gonna use simple numbers here. So if we put it into the Heritage Fund and we make a 3% return on that, as an example, if you're following it. I was trying to stay away from labels, but that sometimes keeping them structured causes more confusion. So if we invest it in the Heritage Fund and get a 3% return over time, and we borrow $1 million to work on the housing fund at a 5% interest rate, it's actually at a negative loss. So these are one of the struggles we worry about, is trying to make sure that we're building nest eggs, even though they currently come at a cost of different types of problems. And so we're looking towards this longer term investment, which is the longer term strategy is still a great idea to build the investment to the point it starts perpetuating its own money and doesn't come at a cost of current problems. Thank you.
Thanks. Does the question make sense?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I do think that the money should definitely go to the Heritage Fund. I understand that we have a housing crisis right now, and of course, that is a huge problem here. But we always have to make sacrifices for future generation. We always make sacrifices for future generation, as is something that we will be able to see continue onwards and in the future. Of course, it's beneficial now and for the current people right now. But by focusing on the future generation and by focusing on students who will be needing the money I personally think is more beneficial than helping what's currently now. As it's like, I understand we need the money for housing crisis here that's currently happening, but again, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm like stuttering my words, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is biased, considering we're young teenagers who will be benefit from this in the future, but that's where I think the money should go to, as I'm not sure, I'm not trying to say a higher chance of building a better life, but it's more insured than if we were to take the money then and to use it for housing at the moment, if that's clear enough.
I just have a question for Mr. Robert Hawkins, Mr. Chair. If you're not taking the $1 million from the Heritage Fund, like, where are you getting it? Like, is our government deficit spending right now, or are we still in the positives? Because that would change the context of the question.
The answer is a complex one. I'll see if Mr. Hawkins wants to field it. Yeah.
Okay, we can scratch that.
No, well, yeah. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the term called Gordian knot, but basically it's an impossible knot. It's very complex. So I think the short answer is that we're given money to make choices. And out of that choice, so it's difficult to say if we have enough money or don't have enough money because it's all built on choice. And I think that's the easiest way to say. If we want to spend more money on problems than we have money, then that's a choice, and that's a choice of the collectiveness. So I was referring to resource money directly. That is coming from extraction of some type of resource. And then we have the choice of should we invest $1 million into housing, which is not borrowed money, it's new money to us, or do we put that into the Heritage Fund and it grows a small amount, but then we may have to borrow money to address the housing problem, which means it's at a negative. So the balance of money, that's where the challenge is coming from. So the priority, so if that helps clarify. And I think you were on topic, so don't worry about that. I think it was good. Mr. Chairman, I don't have another question. I just want to say thank you. I'm going to use the second here. So first of all, I think it's very insightful, each of you. Thank you very much for the way you've responded to them in different ways. By the way, saying your bias, frankly, I really don't care. We went to you, so of course we want your opinion on your view and saying what's good for us and good for us as a collective, because one day, I hope you will be, one day you'll be old and grumpy and cranky like us, and you'll, in other words, your turn will come. So as, you know, we were, maybe not at that chair or that bench, but at the witness stand, as it's often referred to as, we were young too once and looking at things of how do we see the future. And that's one of the reasons why committee had chosen to reach out in a matter to see your perspective. So I'm really glad you shared it, and I think the committee's enriched by your views on these types of things. And if anything, we leave one thing with you folks is to know that we're thinking about the future, but we're also thinking about your future, not just ours in this particular case. And that's one of the benefits. As I finish off here, Mr. Chairman, I remember I was actually there when we talked about the Heritage Fund. I was elected way back then. And we were talking about how it will salt, seed, develop, and create a nest egg for future generations, and hopefully to reach a point to perpetuate the fund itself. Because we know that resource extraction goes up this year and down the next year, and consistent money being invested is not there. But we need it big enough so it perpetuates and grows. That way it's always an opportunity. And locking it in for a long time helps its growth. But back to the point I was trying to make earlier is, yes, every ounce of your perspective, fantastic. Thank you so much for each of you. We are enriched. I say that again because without your point of view, it's hard to understand how young folks are looking towards their future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we are through our question period for committee, and as members are starting to show, we do have another meeting scheduled for 1 o'clock, so we will wrap it up. I wanted to give students the opportunity to share any closing comments you wanted to share with us before we finish up.
We don't have any comments, thank you, but we deeply appreciate this opportunity. This is great.
Very much. And yeah, as Mr. Hawkins already said, I think I speak on behalf of, I do speak on behalf of committee in saying we really appreciate you coming and speaking with us today. Certainly it was important to us to reach out to students as the fund as it's currently laid out can't be spent until 2033. So it's going to be when you folks are coming of age and starting to potentially become politicians yourselves that some of these decisions are going to be made. So it was important to us to highlight this to you, that the fund exists, and get your opinions on it. So we really appreciate you taking the time to look through it, and really appreciate you engaging with committee and taking the time. And so with that, I'll close off the briefing, and thank you again for coming. And that finishes up the public portion of the briefing.